At age 5, 98% of kids were in creative genius level. You get to age, I think, 10 and it drops to 30%.
Oh no.
And you get to adults and it drops to 2%.
We all have moments where like, this is unfair, man. I tried so hard and it was so close, and now just like everything just go to shit.
I got super sick for a couple of years and almost didn't make it out of hospital. Well, that made me change. Is learning how to learn is actually a skill. 70% of A grade students end up working for D grade students.
Well, I had the worst grades in math.
We have an industrial age mindset in the digital age.
Yes.
That's our problem right now. Its modus operandi of an education system was to create people that were able to do jobs.
I used to think that I know everything enough to do whatever I want.
Learning to learn that that's a thing
Yes.
in the context of what you're trying to achieve is a massive like superpower skill. 9 out of 10 people can't tell me what they want their life to look like. I think learning is being able to use technology as a tool, not a crutch,
Yes.
right? And knowing that what it's actually there for. And it's always about the, well, so what am I going to do with this information? How am I going to move things forward for myself?
You're building a school of future.
Mm-hmm.
You call it Future Human.
Yeah.
Check it out. Why? What's wrong with schooling?
What's wrong with schooling? I suppose you have to kind of rewind a little bit and think about why I think this. And I suppose my own personal experience was I was a pretty standard grade C, grade D student, right, at school. So I reckon I could have left school when I was probably 14 or 15. And I kind of hung on and did some extra exams and stuff like that. And I never got on with school. Like maths literally made me feel kind of like dyslexic. You know what I mean? Like numbers on a page, and I just couldn't understand the context. I couldn't understand why I was being told these things. And it wasn't until I started my first business, so I started like messing around in business when I was like 15, 16, 17. And then start my first business, and you do a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And you go, oh wow, this is telling me all the mistakes I made in the past. And if I use a spreadsheet in the right way, I can predict it in the future, what my business might do in the future. So as soon as you had context about why I was learning, then it made a huge difference. And so anyway, fast forward to my own experience, I guess, and my own sort of journey and having kids. And then, that's like 15, 20 years later or whatever, when you have kids.
Yeah.
And you got all this life experience, and you put your kids into the education system that you went into, that I went into. And my son, for example, was the first one to go into school, and he was like super curious kid. He loved like learning everything. You talk to him about any subject, he was like fired up.
I have one of those at home.
Yeah, exactly, right. And that's magical at that sort of age, 5, 6.
Yeah.
And he goes into school. And he loves it to start with. And then as the class dynamic carries on, class full of other 30 other kids, he starts shrinking, like physically,
Okay.
like I see something physical start happening to him.
Yes.
Long story short, you can see him falling out of love with learning,
Yes.
right? Because that's how he thinks it happens. You sit in a class, you receive information from a teacher, and that's how you learn. Not like learning how he did, which is asking questions
Yes.
and being curious. So that was one thing. And then alongside my other business, which was in manufacturing and kind of like on-demand printing using technology, our kids used to run around our factory. And it was we were one of the first companies to use on-demand printing, like digital printing.
Yes.
And it always struck me that it was the best leverage position for anyone creative to create a business. So you print a T-shirt, you print any sort of merchandise, have an idea in the morning, and turn it into something in the afternoon. And so I was sitting with my kid. He came in, draw a picture, go and give it to my designer. They digitize it. He goes through to the factory,
Beautiful.
sees it like printed and coming off. He's like, wow, like this idea I had is now a tangible thing.
Yes.
So always being like passionate about education and thinking about like looking at it differently, we created an education program where we kind of took that as the end point and then captured kids passions at the start, gave them sort of a level of understanding of themselves. We actually used a business profiling tool like test. So everyone does like tests, business profiling, whether it might be DISC or Myers-Briggs. But it's like a slightly dumbed down version for kids. And we'd take them through that process, so they had this new awareness. They had this label. Oh, this is why I am. This is my genius. This is like what lights me up. This is what makes me an individual, and you're different, and that's okay. So there's an amazing, powerful process we took them through on that, and this is taking it into schools, right? And then we aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals, which are just a bunch of problems in the world. I'm not sure I fully agree with them now, but anyway, that was the process we used back then. So it was poverty, it's plastic pollution, it's solving big problems, and empowering these kids through the process of knowing themselves better, knowing how to work together, how to imagineer like what this future might look like if they were going to be the ones to solve the problem. And we took it into schools, and the biggest barrier during that process were the teachers who said, you're never going to get these kids to do this process, to walk through this process, because at the end, they had to pitch their ideas. They had to stand up in front of the school and communicate why they were passionate about this stuff.
Why not?
And there was a kind of, second?
Why not?
Exactly. So, but the teachers are just in this box. So it was really cool for me to sort of see, actually, the biggest problem in the education system is the teachers themselves and the system itself, right? Because it's just been like that for so long. Anyway, so we were getting amazing results with this program in education. We won a lot of the funding to deliver the program in parts of England and the UK. And so I always carried that with me in terms of if I was going to do something again, it has to have that entrepreneurial element. It has to have that passion. How do you capture kids' passion? And it has to capture the purposeful element, and a creative element as well, right? So, and then for reasons we might come on to, I completely shut down all those businesses and we left the UK during the pandemic. And we just went traveling as a family, and we dropped our kids into all different kinds of schools and projects and volunteering and different types of hubs, we call them, world schooling, you call it. So using the world as a kind of a school. Our kids were I think 9 and 7 then when we went. And so trying all these different schools, you kind of look at it and go, you kind of see what works and what doesn't. Everyone's got different ways of how they should educate their kids. You have different dynamics at play, but it kind of crystallized this idea of traditional schooling definitely is not working as far as I can see. And there's an alternative path here, but there's so many different types of education. There's some core things there that are really important for kids to know in terms of the world they're coming into. So when you come to looking towards the future now, in an AI, the AI tsunami that's coming towards us all, in terms of what's happening with the job market and the future of work and what it means to be human, this traditional education system is just not working. So we made the decision to completely go a different way. But why did I create a school? Because I'm carrying all this history around with me, all this kind of acquired experience and knowledge, and building every idea I have, I kind of create a pitch deck. So in my mind, I'm crystallizing what I think is important. I'm really understanding why it's important, what it does, how it's going to be delivered, and all those elements you have as an entrepreneur making a pitch. So I had this vision, and we landed in Bali in 2023, and over time, we're trying different schools here, but the time presented itself as the right time, where there was a bunch of other parents that felt the same, talking to them. And when we decided to go do something, here's my concept.
Yes.
And that's how we started.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's so many questions. I have a 6-year-old who is very passionate about learning right now. So I feel exactly the way you feel. My biggest fear is that he will unlearn this desire to learn new things, if it makes sense. So you said that your kids started shrinking in the school. What do you think was the main reasons? Why was that? Why did he fell out of love with learning?
I think it's two things. It's the environment, first and foremost. You've got an industrial age system where kids sit in a desk and they receive information. They learn how to kind of basically conform to standards and not be creative. That's one thing. That's the general sort of standard. The other thing is, I think NASA did a study. I'm going to try and remember the right percentages here, but it's something like by their, because that NASA, for example, is looking at in an emergency in Apollo 13 like scenario, how innovative and can an astronaut be in terms of fixing a massive problem in space where there's no help, right?
Yes.
You need to be pretty creative in that space. So they were looking for top innovators, and they tested humans and they tested kids. And at age, I think, 5, in terms of creative genius and skill set, in terms of the capabilities, at age 5, 98% of kids were in like creative genius level.
Oh, wow.
You get to like age, I think, 10, and it drops to 30%.
Oh, no.
And you get to adults, and it drops to 2%. So if we're trying to be problem solvers in the world, then creativity, enhancing that creativity and capturing it is super important. So I think the kids don't get a chance to often be creative. And we can talk about what being creative means, but ultimately it's being curious and like being able to follow that curiosity into being creative and
In
solving
your
a
own way.
problem. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because the other thing is, sometimes they allow you to be creative, but they choose the way how you need to be creative.
Yeah.
A lot of lectures they're not even, like, they only appeal to audio. Some people understand some people perceive information better when somebody speaks.
Yeah.
I'm like that. For me, it's easier.
Mm.
Other people are visual. Some people need to write things down.
Yeah.
But you are taught to do it in one way that fits this teacher better, or
Yeah.
that fits a system better.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm afraid of it. I hated school. Through all my school years, I was able to cheat my way out with a good grades, but that's how I was creative.
Yeah.
My creativity was figuring out the deals, how I
Yeah.
can just go through. And I don't think it's the best, because looking back, there's so much missed opportunities to learn amazing things that I need to learn now that I could have learned before. And it's like stacking the learning. So if you know what you know more, then you can stack the learnings way faster. Now it takes me so much more effort to learn.
Yeah.
And I'm really scared that this will happen to my kids too.
It's crazy. I think what we've realized running the school is that during the process of kind of thinking about all these things that are really important and listening to what kids want as well, is learning how to learn is actually a skill.
Yes.
You just said it, right? That in itself is kind of being like, I don't know what the word is, short-circuited right now because of AI. So people are deferring the learning process, which is the work of understanding things and sticking it into ChatGPT. In schools and in colleges and universities now, the students are getting a ChatGPT, they're getting good at writing prompts to have something more natural sounding, to create an essay that they've been told to write, and then dumbing it down to their level so they have something to put in.
Yes.
And then the university or the teachers are then marking it via ChatGPT as well. So what a colossal waste of time. And it completely takes, if I was paying for that education, whether through taxation or actually like fees as a parent, knowing that that's happening, I'd be like, I just can't compute that.
Yes.
So I think there's so many different ways to do it, but I think ultimately kids at that age need to learn by playing.
Yes.
You do, right? And trying to force them, and reading. I'd say reading is an important one, because it opens up so many doors, and that is one of the best ways to learn, right? Is to read. But outside of that, it really is 100% around allowing creativity and curiosity to go, and then being able to communicate why you think that's important, right? Just as we do as adults, as entrepreneurs, right? I think the entrepreneurial mindset is a key thing that so many adults need, and also kids as well.
I notice that I teach my kids to ask why as many times as possible if they don't understand, to dig deeper. And my son came from school and he was saying something like, "We believe that secrets are not true."
Right.
And I'm like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "I don't understand this. I think this is wrong."
Mm.
I'm like, "Did you ask why?" He's like, "No, I
Mm.
was shy to ask why."
Yeah.
And this is when I felt that something is going on.
Mm.
Because, first of all, I really don't think that the school should tell you what to believe in.
Yeah.
It's that I don't think that anybody's job, even a parent's job, is not really teaching kids what to believe. Because beliefs come from your experience, you
Mm.
experience things, or maybe you read something and then you have certain beliefs. And it's very dangerous
Yeah.
to instill beliefs in kids. And this age,
Yeah.
when they're open, and somebody tells them that you believe that way, they just take it for granted.
Yeah.
And we had to have really deep discussion. I'm like, okay, let's take some examples of that. I'm happy you brought it to me, so at least let's together
Yeah.
discuss it. And then we discussed it, and then we both realized that maybe there is some sense in what the idea is,
Mm.
but this belief cannot be applied because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I contacted the teacher, and the answer I was given also didn't make any sense again. And I was like, yeah, it's hard, and it's hard because teacher is a very important job.
Mm.
And finding a good teacher is almost impossible.
Mm.
They are undervalued, they're underpaid, but this is who creates the next generation of people. And they need to be very educated, no matter if it's, especially if you're dealing with young kids. When I was 6, one of my teachers liked communism a lot, and she would talk about Joseph Stalin, how amazing he is for 6 years, and none of the parents would tell them, "Shut up."
Yeah.
And I still, even though I understand logically that this is not true, I still have admiration for a person,
Mm.
just because I want to steal in that. Uh, so I think that's the hardest part. I agree with you that teachers are the most important role, but I think teachers need to be so good
Mm.
that it's almost impossible to find. And somebody so good to devote his life to teaching
Yeah.
is like being a missionary.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the key components we talk about at our school, which is we don't say we've got teachers, we say we have mentors.
Yeah.
It completely changes just the framework in way we think about it, and it just completely gets away from that idea of it being a teacher, kid, and a bunch of kids together. It's like you need that one-to-one understanding, which is hard, right?
Yes.
We're focusing on 11 plus kids. That's ours. Now, in Bali, there's 1,000,001 different options for nature-based or play-based learning for kids, from academic as well, up until age 11. You get to age 11, the options narrow really quickly, right? And a lot of people will fall back into academic pathways at that age because they start to panic and they think, oh, my kids have a great time up until age 10. Oh, shit, now I need grades to sort of monitor how they're actually going, right? But back to the mentorship thing, when you talk about teachers, like really, I remember one teacher at school, high school in particular, and I'll never forget him because he was the best teacher I ever had. But his ability to convey the information to what felt like to me directly was like the thing that like it captured me, and it was the one lesson, the one subject that I carried on all the way that I was trying to do education, right? Trying to be in school,
Yeah.
because he already understood it, and I had massive respect for him. Right, he could make me feel this small, in a good way when I was not fulfilling my own capabilities, but it made in such a way that it made me want to excel with him. So that approach with an individual kid is so important. Most schools, I've been told they have to teach in a certain way.
Yes.
The teachers themselves are being assessed, and the SATs and stuff. Certainly in the UK, my understanding is it's more about more about assessing the school and the parent and the teachers than it is the kids.
Really?
Right? But the kids have to be passing this sort of level. So the school's getting assessed, the school's getting graded, and then all the parents want to send their kids to the best school. Right?
Where they assess teachers the best way.
Right? Exactly. But that teacher then is under this huge amount of pressure
Yes.
themselves. How are they ever going to be able to have that experience that I had and maybe you've had with a teacher that feels more like a mentor, they're never going to have that experience because they ain't got time
Yes.
and they're under so much pressure.
But we're kind of stuck then. This is like a very sad situation where most of the world is stuck because there's an old education system that we subscribe to, and as a society, we don't like to shift things too much because it requires the public opinion is important for politicians and
Yeah.
laws are already made. Why would we change things around? And even if you try to stand and be different, if you want to have some future in certain careers, it's impossible to do if you don't follow the structure.
Mm.
So essentially, what's the way out? I mean, I understand that you have this school, but most of the world do not have opportunity to have those schools.
Mm.
And also finding the teachers who are ready to step out and be critical thinkers, who are not part of the system, is almost impossible too.
Mm.
Not talking about AI that the education is
No.
going to change, which we're going to get in a second.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason that schools are called institutions, right? It's
Same
because
as prison.
yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
It's and they're so huge, and they're so institutionalized, and they're so ingrained as part of society that that's so big and uncumbersome to even begin to change because everyone within that system has been entrained to create the system and continue keep it going. I'm super fascinated by one of my mentors says basically we have an industrial age mindset in the digital age. That's
Yes.
our problem right now,
Yes.
right? And I personally think an entrepreneurial mindset, an entrepreneurial spirit, as in the way that we've got the ability to make our own living, right? Make our own money, whether you create a massive business or you just work for yourself, right? I think that's kind of a superpower. And if you think back to before the pre-industrial age, most people had to figure out how to make their own living. And then along comes the industrial age, and you have a few people creating factories, basically, and they need people to come and work in those factories. So basically, they need people to have jobs.
Yeah.
So the education system was formed, the current education formed around that same time, where basically its format was its modus operandi of an education system was to create people that were able to do jobs,
Work in a factory.
yeah, but not have their own sort of level of independence around making their own way in life. And we've had 150, nearly 200 years of that. We have no concept of most people have no concept of what it's like to be entrepreneurial in approach. And I think that's the biggest problem, right?
But interestingly enough, that it's also not required. That's what I don't understand. My mind doesn't align this because if you want to work in certain job, which is very structured, the best way to do it is go from the age of 10 and work in this job.
Yeah.
You'll get way more experience. You
Exactly.
understand it better than learning a bunch of things. Like I learned math, like really sophisticated calculus. I learned chemistry and physics just by like solving formulas. Nobody nobody did any experiments, or
Yeah.
we didn't watch some amazing movies or did anything. We just write down the formulas. How important is this if I would work in a factory? Zero.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is so strange.
Well, that's why, that's what I felt the same. Why am I learning this stuff? The only thing I liked was books, and reading and stuff and acquiring knowledge for myself. But personally, I just looked at it and I didn't know. I never had any context for why I was learning any of this stuff. I mean, like that's why I could say I could have left school at 14 because the knowledge I retained
Yeah.
is almost zero from my school, the education that I received. I'm not saying I'm typical. There's a place for academic kids for sure.
Yeah.
It's not like everyone can be an entrepreneur. It's not like everyone should be. We're going to need nurses. We're going to need people that are, able to offer different kind of service kind of based jobs and all that kind of thing for the future.
But they do not require still you to go to school that much.
Exactly.
If you want to work in a coffee shop, there's way better if you go and be a prince in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
I'm a software developer. This is considered a very technical and high skilled profession.
Right.
I had the worst grades in math. worst. I
Yeah.
could never get math at all
No, that's same.
because it was so boring.
Yeah.
Then I started coding and I'm like, I'm solving the problem. I'm learning the math as I'm doing. It's
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
my friend Janur Yasa calls edu action. So you do the action and this is how you educate yourself.
Like it. Love it.
Other way, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
All because people finish school with a lot of theoretical knowledge and then they still have to relearn everything.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Exactly.
That's why I'm so pissed.
You'll love this stat, right? I think it's, I'm going to try and get it right. I think 70% of A grade students end up working for D grade students.
Wow. Lucky me. Yeah, yeah.
Same, right? You know?
I used to work with PhDs.
Yeah.
Like I get an internship in this company, a software development company, and they hired me from the college. It was not on university because they kicked me out of that. And then there was a bunch of PhDs with me. And they actually did not get a job after internship, and I did.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is wrong?
Well, why do you think that was there?
I just did solve problems all day.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I don't have any ego. This guy is like finished. It's like PhD internship. So
Yeah.
they have a lot to lose. They have the face to lose. I don't. I
That's
just
it.
go and I do things.
That's the key thing. I think when you're A grade student, how often have you actually failed in the context of being at school?
Yeah, that's
So
good.
if you're an A grade student, you've never gone, shit, I didn't do very well at that. What can I learn about how to fix that problem if I want to in the future? But I think that kind of taking it for granted that I'm never going to have to fail in an academic environment it becomes like a real hindrance
Yeah.
because you don't have to fix things. You never have to pick yourself up after you've failed. And I just think if you fail faster, you get there wherever you're trying to go much quicker.
Yes.
Because you have that mindset, which is, I'm going to fix this and I'm going to be a doer. And it's always about action. It's never about thinking about what I'm going to do into realizing, thinking, now I need to go and learn this before I go and do it. Oh, now I know this little bit extra information. Now I need to go and, now I know this about that. I now need to go and learn something else. And people end up getting stuck in that loop of theory and not doing.
100%. And it takes you to be way more creative to cheat than for you to learn. They're just to memorize. Because you need to really you learn good skills. You need to negotiate. You need to be good friends with somebody who can let you copy. You need to be able to copy in a way that teachers cannot find. All those skills, I'm not preaching that people should cheat in school. I preach that they should just go and work on what they want to do, maybe on their free time or whatever, instead of learning things that you don't care about.
Yeah.
But essentially, being a D grade student, you still have to somehow go to a next grade. And the creativity it takes you to go to a next grade often is what makes you a good entrepreneur.
Always.
Yeah.
Always, yeah. So I do think that entrepreneurial kind of mindset is key. Even if it's a skill that's learned, even if the journey doesn't end up as starting your own business,
Yes.
that resilience, that be able to approach failure, and to just think, I'm going to be okay if I don't pass my grades, if I don't get this job, I'm still going to be okay, right? And I think part of my other business is trying to help adults overcome this kind of mindset where they want to kind of leave the career they're in. It kind of feels like golden handcuffs, but they're so used to someone else providing for them through an income that they're scared. And I think what I'm actually trying to do is do myself out of a future job by helping kids never get to that point.
Yes.
Right? To have this kind of midlife crisis where they're going, I've spent the last 20, 30 years in a job I hate. And now what do I do? You know? And the resilience, I think, from being able to be creative in an entrepreneurial mindset way, like I say, not necessarily having to go and create a business, but having that kind of sense of resilience is super key. Because I look at it and I go, a few people, like when they go through this process, say working with the adults that I work with, we work with kind of C-suite and senior execs and trying to create what I call Life 2.0. So they've done Life 1.0 and Life 2.0 is more purposeful, more meaningful, but there's a lot of unconditioning to get rid of during that process. So it's kind of like thinking, well, what is it about them that needs to be transposed into being a kid at this point in time? So yeah, that idea that we don't want to create the same patterns we've done for the last 100 years, because society's fucked up, and it's education has played a big part in how people have ended up in the way they are, right?
Yes.
Because they're entrained in that way.
Yes. Everybody's feeling super dependent. Even dependency. You feel dependent on school because you believe. There's this weird belief. I don't know where it comes from, but it's I when I see people say it, I like cringe when they say, "Well, I just need to get good grades in school and I'll get a good job." And then down the road, it transpires into, I'm just going to trust the government and the government will take care of me when I'm old.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, you end up broke, unhappy, and you're like, oh, my life had just passed and I don't have any pension and I need to downsize. I was an A student all my life.
Yeah.
I had a great job and now nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Because you didn't realize when you were young that nobody gave a shit in the first place.
Yeah.
Like you have to take your life in your hands and do. And I think it's a lot of passive, kind of this passivity of waiting for something. Because school teaches you that.
Yeah.
Don't think, just learn this. And if you learn this, we're going to give you a candy.
Yeah.
And if you learn this again, we're going to give you 2 candies. And then you're like, okay, I just get a candy for just showing up and, doing what the guy says. But then at some point, there is no guy.
Yeah.
Like you finish a school and you're like, where's the guy?
Yeah.
Nobody's giving me candies anymore.
Not only where is the guy, where's the test?
Yes, and
Because
where's the
they're
test?
trained to take tests.
Yeah.
So in my previous businesses, we'd bring in interns, we'd bring in work experience, and it was like they'd show up and say, okay, where's the test for me to pass today? Because they weren't equipped to literally think on their feet and kind of realize, okay, this organization needs me to do this. This is what they tell me I'm here for. So I need to go and fix some of those problems for them, right? And,
Yes.
and ask questions about how I can help that. When you're just waiting for a test, you're waiting for someone to pass something across to you and you fill it in and you give it back, right?
Yeah.
And that mindset, like you said, about waiting is it's a slow death. It's a massively slow death.
And the
right?
interesting thing that right now it's important like never before.
Yeah,
Because AI is coming and AI can pass tests better than anybody else.
exactly.
So this is what I want to talk about as well. So a lot of those A-grade students that know how to pass tests won't be necessary.
Mm.
So now an education is going to be completely different. Because that's what I think. I'm like, people ask me, my kids go to school where they can run around, play in a mud, do whatever they do. And my mom, who's an old school woman, she would be like, are they going to learn anything?
Yeah,
And I had a friend here as well. He would be like, I told him what my kids do, and I'm like, they have few classes, but mostly they just socialize and chill. And he was the same thing.
yeah,
Are they going to learn anything?
yeah,
I'm like, did you learn anything?
yeah.
Did I learn anything? Because I'm like, and I have no idea what's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Mm.
Like, will this learning this way going to be necessary at all? I don't know. The only chance for you and for me and for us to change this is AI.
Yeah,
Because if people can learn by itself and realize that they can still be great, then you might not need a school anymore.
yeah.
What do you think about it?
I think, we've talked about AI a bunch, right?
Yeah.
Before. And as creative problem solvers, it's an execution tool for us,
Yes.
right? The danger is when it becomes a learning tool in the way that I can just put in, that's in the context of, I need to pass a test or I need to write an exam.
Yes.
If you interrogate AI, and assuming it's not biased in any way, then you can learn a lot. You can learn quickly.
Yeah, that's what I do. Actually, I learn, which is weird. I now learn way more than I have learned before.
Yeah,
But there's a difference, as you said. I need an essay, like I have some stupid task that I need to solve, and there's no awareness or nothing.
yeah,
Whereas I was learning about quantum computers, and I would ask 5 million questions to AI to understand quantum computers, and we would
Yeah.
go for different scenarios. Then I'm like, how would I explain it to a 5-year-old? Then both me and AI explaining it to my son, and then both of us asking AI again for more questions.
yeah.
So I think that is helpful.
Yeah, I think so too. As long as that's the key thing, right? I think the quality of your life, whether you're a kid or an adult, is determined by the quality of the questions you ask.
Yes.
If you ask shit questions, you're going to get shit answers,
Yes.
right? And AI is going to give you that because it's just a bunch of numbers that's not going to, give you beyond. It's not going to expand beyond the question you ask, right? But I'm reticent to think that AI is is the only thing that matters in all this. If we want to pass a test, maybe. There's definitely a lot of studies that show if you get to the point where you've got and we use AI in our school, right? And we use it for maths, skilling up, and it meets the child in terms of the level they're at, and it's pushing them to raise their own envelope all the time. We've got literacy apps as well, and collaborative apps, right? But they're a short burst in terms of how they're used, and then the context in how we use them is the important thing. But I think there's a lot of movement at the moment there's a lot of noise out there at the moment in terms of realizing that AI is just replacing data in, data out information. And but there's a lot, so people are looking at AI and going, this definitely solves the data in, data out problem of education. Well, it does to a certain degree, but the creativity and the actual doing, the application of the information is the important thing, right?
Okay.
We haven't, as a world, we haven't got an information problem. If we did, then the internet would have solved all our problems in the entire world because the world information is now available, right?
But I think it's about, I agree, but the problem with internet is that information is in a pretty unstructured way,
Yeah,
which AI solves very nicely. So yes,
yeah,
you have access to any information you want,
yeah.
but to create a plan out of all this information, to assemble it in the right way, it's incredibly hard to do. And I think this is AI solves instantly.
It does. But so there's a lot of stats that say in the environment where you can have an AI tutor meeting, like I said, meeting the kids at where they're at, and then probing them in a way that's like the mentor element that we were talking about, which is like if you have that amount of tension on you as a student from a teacher, whether it's AI or otherwise, then you react in a certain way very positively to
Yes.
that way of learning, right, and that way of mentoring or being taught. And an AI can replicate that. And there's a lot of studies that are showing when you move from a class of 30 kids with one teacher under pressure and just doing rote information to the kids and then expecting them to basically recite it back to them.
Yes.
Once you remove that and you put kids into a one-to-one environment and they're learning a subject, like the performance goes right up, right, across every single metric.
Really?
Every single age group, the metric goes up, which is good. But if then the kids only still, so if you want to assess kids like that, that's good, right? If you want kids to learn faster, it's good. But it's still about what are you actually going to do with the information,
Yeah.
right? And it's turning that from, you've given an example and I did, which is when you when you go into the context of, say, when I started running my business, I love spreadsheets.
Yes.
I couldn't stand them before, and it
Yeah,
was like I
same.
was dyslexic, and the numbers fell off the page for me. It didn't mean anything.
Yes.
But as soon as you got some context, because you're doing something you care about,
Yes.
then it changes everything.
For sure. 100%. Yeah, it's a tough one. On the one hand, you want to use the tools to support you. On the other hand, it can be a crutch.
Yeah,
And I do use the crutch as well. So
Yeah.
sometimes instead of learning something that I need to do quickly, I just use AI. I mean, I do work with AI, so I never do just copy paste blindly. I always say, okay, so you gave me, let's say, this piece of code. I usually, and the code is easy because I'm very good at code, so I understand what I need.
yeah,
And I just give it some tiny tasks, but we'll build it like a trading bot here for fun.
yeah,
And it would give me the code that I didn't know anything about. I'm like, okay. And it would start giving me wrong code all the time. I'm like, okay, let's step back, explain to me what you did. Explain to me what's important. And then we have a conversation and I say, okay, so let's use what you said before, but change it in a different way. It gave me the correct one. What a lot of people do, they just take it and it doesn't work. And then they're like, I guess AI is stupid. I'm like, no, because you're right. It's all what you ask and
Yeah.
how you approach it. If it's a sparring partner, it's great.
Sparring partner is a good way to look at it, I think. But you couldn't spar with it if you hadn't got that level of competency yourself.
Yes.
And I'm going to use the word again, creativity, to understand what it was giving you back and how that could iterate better.
Yes.
You were looking at it as an execution tool, not as a maybe as a creative partner,
Yes.
but where you're bouncing an idea off like a sparring type of thing. But you need to be able to spar with it.
Okay.
And if you haven't got that
Yeah.
competency, you haven't built that in the real world by going through something and failing and communicating your how you think it's working, then you're not able to spar.
Yeah.
You're just gonna see the AI as the ultimate solution, and
Yes.
it's not.
So it all comes down to creativity, if I hear you correctly.
Seems to be, right? And right now, I think that's the case.
How do we inspire or learn how to be more creative? That's funny how you need to learn how to be creative. But I think if, let's say, a lot of people, because you're working on, for example, CEOs who are want to have life 2.0, I guess if they were super creative in the first place, they might have avoided life 1.1 and jumped straight to life 2.0.
Maybe.
So my question is, how do we keep the creativity for kids, and how do we relearn to be creative as adults?
Doing it as adults is harder, right? And unfortunately, midlife crises, if we put it into that box, or burnout, if we want to use the sort of the more the term in the last few years, it's usually some sort of life crisis that makes people switch. That's what happened to me.
Yes.
Right? I got super sick for a couple of years and almost didn't make it out of hospital. Well, that made me change, right? And that's mostly what happens to people as adults. The only other thing is for adults is learning together, and a kind of a desire for actual change, and be able to note when the old habits that they have are creeping back in. You can't do that by yourself.
Yes.
You need to be in a community. So that's one of my other passions.
And what are the old? What are the habits?
What are the habits? It's that mindset of expectation that life should be linear.
I see.
And I hate to keep talking about it, but it's such a reflective point for me. The idea of entrepreneurship or making your own living is that it's not a straight line.
Yes.
If you go and work in a job, money lands in your bank account every month.
Yes.
It's the same amount.
Yes.
So that's how you think life works.
Yes.
But the guy who's running the business is like this.
Yes.
His life is like this.
It's his money landing in your bank account, and he's
Yeah.
broke every other month.
Exactly, right? And so when you kind of step out of that and people want to quit their jobs, they still want that deposit into their bank account every single month to give them that idea of safety and security.
Yes.
And until they get rid of that notion, there's not a lot you can kind of do about it, right? And so there's only certain gears you can pull financially in terms of engineering your life differently to move through that. The problem is everyone thinks they've not got enough.
You mean money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There'll always be money printing is a thing, inflation is a thing, cost of living is a thing.
Yes.
But if you make some different choices about life, you realize you probably have, for a lot of people that have worked for a period of time,
Yes.
they probably have got enough. They just need to make different choices about their life, right? We're in Bali and there's a whole bunch of people here, amazing people that have made a different choice and done the hard thing and not stayed where they were, but they've come here.
Yes.
Right?
And many of them, often including myself, are still struggling because they don't have enough, even though it's more than many people. Yeah, many people would love to have.
I guess there's always that desire, right?
Yes.
Money just opens doors,
Yes.
but the choices you make to stay in the same position, or just to acquire more, once you get into that accumulation mindset, you'll never get off it.
Yes.
So deciding what you want life to look like is a key thing. Once you decide that, then you can start to figure out to move towards solving that problem. But most people can't even tell me, like in my experience, 9 out of 10 people can't tell me what they want their life to look like.
I love that. And I love that this is a great point that you're making, that it is uncertain. And there will be times where you won't have any money, and then you will have to sit down and say, damn it.
Yeah.
I'll need to figure it out.
No one's coming to save me.
Yes, no one comes to save me. It's just me.
Yeah.
And I'll have to... You know how many times I had the situation where I'm like, I wish I were going to, as any entrepreneur, I just want to go back to the job.
Yeah.
Like if I would just had a job, I would just do my thing, listen to the boss. And then the next day, like, no. But it comes at such a cost, because once you escape that, and you don't want to go back.
Yeah.
But understanding it that this is a rule of the game.
Yeah.
Like you're playing this game, and this game had this quality. One of the qualities is always stressful. There's always fires, and you will be broke at some points in your journey. Unless you're very lucky, but then you're going to be doing stupid shit and still going to be broke.
Yeah.
This is good.
So I'm working with the team we've got at the moment, essentially with the school. We're a startup, right? And so we're having to be super agile with budgets. We're having to be super agile with resources and all the rest of it. And some of the team we're working with have come from the mindset we've just described, which is kind of like, well, this is a linear thing, right? This is a linear thing, and I need to feel this way, and working with them in terms of changing their kind of perception of what that means, and building something for the future, building
Yes.
towards something, because it is purposeful what we're doing, right? We've got a school. We believe
Of
massively
course.
in the future of our kids and the kids we have in the school.
Yes.
So that changes the way you feel about things. When it's purposeful, it changes the way things are. But as it is with the team, they need to come on that journey with me as well, and I'm sort of having to lovingly help them through that process in the same way. All right.
I like how people feel. I like the phrase, I need to feel this way.
Yeah.
I need it to be this way. And I think that I need is where it goes wrong.
Yeah.
Because you don't need, and nothing is owing you to anything. And this is a realization that people cannot grasp.
Yeah.
And they resent it all the time.
Yeah. Resent's a great word for that. What
Yeah.
happens? Yeah.
There's a lot of resentment, and this is exactly why some entrepreneurs are just survive. Everybody feels the same way.
Yeah.
Like, we all have moments where like, this is unfair, man. I tried so hard and it was so close, and now just like everything just go to shit.
Yeah.
But once you realize that, well, the world doesn't own you anything, and yes, I mean, you would love it to be different, but then it would be also boring. Like, if everything was great, then maybe the job is the way to go. If you like boring stuff, don't do entrepreneurship.
Yeah. I think so. And as well, I think looking at the AI side of things now,
Yeah.
where people are realizing, hey, is my job under threat? Because I do a data in, data out job, kind of, or they're very misinformed in terms of their expectations of what AI can or can't do, and the desire of the people that pay their bills, pay their salary, to become more efficient in their own business, right? And then they're looking at the workforce, the human workforce, and going, agents can do this.
Yes.
And so, I talk to more and more business owners about that are just taking that. We're not growing our headcount. We're building our agent count,
Yes.
right? Our agent headcount.
Yeah.
So a lot of people should be worried. I'm worried about it. Just
Why are
from
you
the
worried
point,
about it?
because I'm just worried about what's the world going to do, right? And I can see the pathway about how we think what's going to happen, and it doesn't look pretty.
Okay.
But amongst all that, I think it's this opportunity for people to realize that the world, no one's coming to save me. Certainly not in the way that's going to keep my freedom intact anyway.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And so if I understand that that's the case, then there's the path to making my own living opens up, because a lot of people have just got these mountains of value in terms of being 40, 50 years old, mountains of value that they've created, they just don't even know they have.
Yes.
They just need to apply it differently, right?
Okay.
And I think that's the key. So, but when you look at the way that, like I said, AI tsunami coming towards people, I think there's a choice. As an entrepreneur, I think we talked about this before, as an entrepreneur, there's so many opportunities in AI to build a company and make a lot of money if you want to do that.
Yes.
But it feels to me at nearly 50, it feels like a young man's game, right? 3-4 years ago, when AI became more accessible, I started trying to make businesses from it, and I haven't got the time, the resources, or the energy in the same way I did when I was in my 30s
Yes.
to move fast enough, right? And so I looked at it in that way and thought, okay, there's lots of opportunities there, but it's not what I want to do right now. The other opportunity, as AI becomes much more prominent, is the question of if that's the case and AI is going to swallow a lot of jobs up, a lot of career paths, what can AI not do? And it can't be human. So the other opportunity is around connection.
Yes.
And reevaluating as the human race in terms of what we think that means. Rethinking about what it means to be a human, I think, right? This is really what's going to happen. Because if we define ourselves by our jobs, our careers, and those are taken away, then who the hell are we, right? And
This is a great question.
yeah, so I personally went through that process by, not being well for a while. But I think a lot of people will go through that. But in terms of the opportunity, I think there's a lot of pushback with AI. There's a lot of pushback starting even with like some kids right now, in
Okay.
terms of not wanting to use technology, in the same way, wanting to enhance their creativity or embrace it. um, and uh, and as the sort of the Luddite, like people smashing up AI will probably happen,
Yes.
you know, in terms of this is taking our jobs and we're not happy about it. Amongst all that, though, there will be a move back to more connection, like real life things that I can touch and handle, and the opportunities to bring people together in all sorts of amazing ways. I think that's like a new frontier in terms of opportunity as well.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm super excited about this podcast as never before. I was doing it for a while. I love doing it, but now it's becoming more and more important. And I'm like, well, if everything is taken care of, we can just sit down and have a chat every day, twice a day, 3 times a day. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah,
And if that's how I can bring value in this new economy where everything is about connection,
yeah,
that's great.
yeah,
But there are lots of people who don't have any identity outside of their job.
yeah.
And if AI is going to take it, like, what's your doomsday scenario? I mean, apart from the AI is going to kill us all, okay, so the job is going to get displaced. Like, people are going to get displaced, which they already do. Chris can look into it, but I think some big company just fired 20,000 people. Like one of the
Yeah,
big companies.
one of the big tech companies. I can't remember which one.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, it's happening all the time, right? So
Yeah. But
remember,
like 20, like a huge amount of people.
yeah,
They're
remember,
like, we're moving to AI.
yeah, remembering the numbers difficult, right? And exactly what I said. Like, but even people I'm talking to are replacing headcount or not increasing their headcount in lieu of increasing the agent count, right?
Yes.
Where does it go? I mean, there's going to be the gradual sort of creep because of inflation, because of cost of living, because it's difficult to run businesses.
Yes.
Governments are making taxation choices on businesses that puts even more pressure on them.
Yes.
So as a business owner, what are you going to do? You're going to look for efficiency, which means you are definitely going to just this loop happens where it doesn't make sense to actually employ people when you can do it faster.
But now they're thinking of taxing, of using as having legislation that agents will be considered as employee.
I mean, yeah, take,
I mean,
right?
yes,
It's bonkers.
yeah.
It's bonkers. I think, I don't know, there's lots of different people talking about lots of different doomsday scenarios, I suppose. I mean, ultimately, you're probably going to move to some sort of form of monopolization,
Yes.
you know, where there'll be massive acquisitions that just go on, even smaller acquisitions. I feel like there's a little story I like to tell where I feel like we're in the inflection point of right now. So my first ever official business was a skateboard shop, right?
Okay.
So I used to be a skateboard, and it was on the outskirts of a small town in England. And I was sitting there waiting for customers to come in, right?
Yes.
And so this is like 1997.
Okay.
And I see a guy walking down the street, and he's got a suit on and a briefcase.
Yeah.
And he goes into a store across the road. He's in there for about half an hour. And he comes out and he goes to the next one. Half an hour, he goes to the next one. So I'm like, he's going to come in here, right? Eventually he comes in. And it's like, have you heard about the internet? And I'm sat there with the yellow pages
Yeah.
on the counter, right? And yeah, I've heard about the internet and all the rest of it. But you know what he was offering basically was a website. Okay, you're gonna get all these amazing customers because everyone's gonna hear about you,
Yeah.
right? What he was doing in that moment was bridging the gap between my understanding and an
Yes.
opportunity. He was just the middleman.
It's probably very rich right now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where we are right now. There's a bunch of people leveraging people's lack of understanding about AI
Yes.
within businesses
Yes.
and just bridging that gap, right? And there's huge opportunity for people to do that right now, right? But very
that-
quickly,
Yeah.
they're going to realize I don't need this guy.
Yeah.
And so they'll go into this, it's just going to be a world of agents, right? So
But people are not going to make their own agents. So there's a lot of opportunity to deploy agents for
yeah,
a different business use cases
yeah.
where, and it's, I mean, I'm in software. Like I used to sell software. I used to build software. The beauty of software, it's you sell it once and then people just don't like to switch.
Yeah.
It's a big company. Yeah, whatever. I'm
Mm.
just gonna pay. But a lot of people are not gonna build agents.
No.
Like now we're expecting people to become tech savvy, figuring out how to do those things. I don't know.
But someone who's starting a business now will be the first $1 billion one person
Yes. It's
company
coming.
because
Yeah.
they've got AI agents, right? So I just have to. I don't know where it's going to end up. It looks um, problematic
Yes.
for humanity.
Yes.
So I just have to double down in how trying to help people understand what it is they actually want to do, what problems they want to solve, and that brings me back to like kids. It brings me back to sort of, there's only so much we can do with adults who are willing to make some decisions. We always say the life you're seeking is on the other side of the choice you're not making or the work that you were avoiding, right?
Yes.
Um, and that is a choice. So the adults are in that space, and I can't change an institution like education. I can only work in the space that I can work and say, look, this is what I believe, this is what I see, and this is what the feedback that I'm getting, and
Yes.
the improvements we're seeing with the education that we're doing to believe that it's working. And so all you can do is trying to help the next generation and a bunch of parents that believe the same thing. And when you put all those people in within a community, some pretty awesome things start to happen.
Yeah, I do agree with you that the future, I mean, my future is utopian, and people are like, oh, Anatoly, shut up. You don't understand stuff. People are greedy. Now it's going to change. But it seems to me that the money will play less of a role. There's a lot of technology coming out right now that are decentralizing in a true way. We're talking about blockchain, which is one of the technologies to allow that.
Yeah.
But in general, communities are decentralizing from the government.
Yes.
Companies are now global, so they try to optimize in many, many different ways. People are kind of gathering together and creating their own rules. So I think all we had a lot of centralization. Now we're doing this decentralization, and then we're gonna figure out what's our own currency in this our community. Do we have money? Is that just an exchange? And then once everything is taken care of, then we'll need to think of who do we invite to.
Mm.
And the beauty of that is that people who have lots of money but have no value apart from, I mean, I'm not saying that people who have lots of money, some of them, they are making money in a ways that are not really bringing value to other people. It's very,
Yeah.
very selfish way. I met a kid here. I don't know if it's going to talk about it, but anyway, I met a kid here like a few weeks ago at the event, and the kid, very like arrogant kid. He was like 22. He's worth about 100 or 200 million dollars. And I talked to him, and the way he talks and he treats people not nicely, and I'm like, if you remove that money from you, there's nothing there that
Yeah.
anybody of these people, and people like admire him for a fact that he's like buying stuff. And I'm like, if you just remove that money, you are not an authentically good person.
Yeah.
You're probably an asshole, and now you're an asshole with a $200 million,
Yeah.
which is like makes
Still
you
an
even
asshole.
worse.
Yeah.
And I think people like that would not be able to survive. Yes, they had a choice right now where you can invest in some shady shitcoin. It goes up, and you're rich. But we just value wrong things right now.
Mm-hmm.
We went so far into this capitalism, and I have nothing against capitalism, but when you go too far and it's become very selfish, we went to the point where it's all about you, and not about anybody else. And you are making something at the expense of other people are suffering. So once this is removed, this is rare opportunity of being an asshole and being rewarded for it, the world's going to get different, and those
Yeah.
people are going to get left behind.
I think so. And that's why I'm talking about the human element so much, because that level of human connection becomes so important. Authenticity becomes really important, right? And if you're going to become, I mean, we're super passionate about creating a community around the school. The intention is we will build a village around it that's much more integrated into Bali and all the opportunities that brings to do something a little bit more utopian in its view, right? But you need the right people.
Yes.
And which is why you need to be kind of very clear in what the life you want to create, which is what I was talking about earlier. Like once you nine out of 10 people can't tell me what they want life to look like. But if the people that do know what they want life to look like, then they start to be more authentic because they're driven by something more than money. Right?
How do you know? I guess if that's such an important question for somebody who is listening, like I'm trying to envision the life I want to create. I have certain images in my head, but it's not very clear. It's not like I fully understand it. So people like myself, when people are listening, How do you start navigating this question?
I suppose you have its bitter experience and
So what
seeing
you
the
don't
red
want?
flags.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think it's defining what, for anything that I've done more recently, I've planted a flag with a full belief that this is what I want to do, and you attract. But when you're that strong about the thing you want to create, people start to gravitate towards it,
Yes.
and it has the repelling effect for the people that don't like the sound of it,
Yes.
right? So you kind of like end up having a quite strong filter mechanism by being very clear in what you want. And the second thing is, I liked what you were talking about. Well, what's my value? Because in one of those scenarios, the AI scenarios, is that we all become most people become consumers of whatever AI is creating and whatever content is out there,
Yes.
and some people will be creating, right? If those people are consuming, then universal basic income is an inevitability in that scenario, and they will remain consumers. For other people that kind of let's say want this more values based kind of community, let's call it, then in order to if money is devalued or you don't get access to it because you maybe don't want to play in that same system, you don't want to be that consumer, then you've got to be able to think about, well, how am I actually contributing to this thing where the flag is planted, this
Yes.
village that's here, right? So in that instance, you need to have that awareness of your own value. Like, I said, people have decades of value. They just can't always, the city on a mountain of value, they can't always see it. But when you're talking about maybe changing the currency, then the only thing you've got at that point is trust and
Yes.
in the value that you can create. And so, in that instance, you you end up with that kind of mechanism where those people are of value to the community that you're trying to build. So, if I'm trying to build a village around the school, there are a lot of parents in the school that we have that have believe in the education that we're offering, and so they're like-minded, right? And when you get like-minded people together in that community,
Yes.
you end up having some amazing conversations. You end up starting creating together. You end up collaborating together. And that's the village that I'm moving towards in terms of creating. And when you do that, you end up solving much bigger, interesting problems.
Yes.
And once you add the fact that people know what they want life to look like in that instance, you are creating a space which is like a sidestep out of what everyone else believes life should be.
Yes.
And it sounds like a bit of a hippie commune, but
Yeah.
it isn't that, because I think the thing is, all these places, the danger with them is they don't have a reason for existing. They're just like, we're going to create this amazing space, we're all going to get along, and they never do.
Yeah, because they think that everything else is gonna take care of itself. We
Yeah.
just get like we're like creating community for the sake of creating a community. But same with the company. If you hire people and say, guys, let's just hang out in the office, people will be like, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I just don't know, just hang out. There's a computer here and there's a desk here. It's like, do something.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a common goal. And I think the community of the futures are more like corporations, that they have a common goal, KPIs and everything else, but there's the people who are working for the bigger goals,
Yeah.
and they are not they're not like trying to struggle to get some money. It's mostly like we're all making the world a better place,
Yeah.
which sounds great, but if we go outside of the bubble of this Bali,
Yeah.
and we take a Susie the cashier who's working and she has 3 kids and a mortgage, and she's really struggling somewhere in US.
Yeah.
Her imagining that suddenly she can learn AI, or she can go and, I don't know, she has any value apart from
Yeah.
trying to support her 3 kids is very hard. And this is the majority of people.
Yeah. Look, we can't change the entire world. You can only. I used to think, in the arrogance of being a younger entrepreneur, that that's what I was going to do
Yeah, yeah.
through what I was doing. And some people can be that person to really sort of bring that change. Other people can change things on a much more micro level. I made the decision not to be in the UK. I made a decision to be here,
Yeah.
and I made a decision to be with people that I want to be with.
Yes.
And as we've already said, it's going to be really difficult to change people in that scenario that you've just described.
Yes.
There's billions of them.
Yes.
The
But also,
institutions and the corporations are wrapped up in keeping that system there.
yes.
So for me, you have to look at the next generation, because
Yes.
it's a long tail. It's not
Exactly.
it's not a fix. It's a long tail you got to look at.
But long generation, billions of young kids are getting indoctrinated same way that they are. And again, I tell it in every podcast. I know I'm a broken record. We're very privileged.
Yeah, we are.
I'm privileged to know you, so I can talk to you to get my kids into your school, and you're doing things differently. It's if I had my $200 million and being an asshole not knowing you, the chances of me A, realizing that, and B, getting my kids to a better school are very low. Most of the people, even if they have resources, they might not have time to research it, or they might not have a network. And I understand that, yes, this is what you should work on. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to be an entrepreneur, figure out how to get around the people who matter. But life's
Life's fast out there, right?
Yes.
You know, and I think as well, even when parents are thinking about, well, I want the best for my kids, it's difficult for them to even be involved in their kids' education,
Yeah.
because their kids being in school is like 90%. A lot of it, unfortunately, is 90%, 80 to 90% kind of childcare. That's what it is. You know, most of the time they're spent there.
Plus, what is best is indoctrination of their own indoctrination by their own school. Some
Yeah.
people think the best, like there's places like China and India where I guess there's this stereotype that they need to go to a best university. So that's why I need to go to a schooling system to get to this best university. Those places have billions of people, have billions of kids who are raised that way to follow the system and become employees.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not changing the world, but what I'm trying to say is that, I don't know.
I think all you can do is that realization that me trying to change the system inside the UK, when I was delivering that education system,
Yes.
Education program in schools in the UK, everyone thought it was amazing. But I was within a system that was very strict, and we had to fit that in
Yes.
outside of their curriculum. It wasn't the main thing, right? And it never was going to be, right? So when we talk about planting the flag with belief about the thing that we believe in and that we're creating, and we're trying to attract people to it, that's all you can do. You can just live by example, right?
Yes.
We can and make as much noise. Me being on this podcast, hopefully will enlighten some people in
Yes.
just the way we think. This conversation is valuable to people, in even one person to sort of think, I now see things slightly differently from the way I do before.
Yes.
That's all we can do, right? We can only lead by example.
Unfortunately, Susie the cashier is not going to watch this,
Yeah.
and this is when I realized the whole premise of the podcast Soul to Soul was to wake up souls, people who are working in the office, to realize there's more to life, and then I realized that the people who watch it are pretty aware of them.
You're preaching to the converted, right?
Yeah.
Look, I just
But
think
it's fine. I mean, maybe they still need to know.
Totally, man. And look, listen, I think everyone's on their own journey, and everyone just needs to know that there are other people that will think about this stuff as well.
Yes.
Because the future is about collaboration and
Yes.
thinking creatively. And if I sat down with Susie Shakir, what did he call her?
Susie the cashier.
Susie the cashier.
The
Sorry, man.
cashier is her.
Her job. Sorry,
her
man.
job.
Susie the cashier. I'm going to speak in a completely different language to her. She's not got any. There's no way I can help her unless I sit down with her and school her in the way directly. She needs to see that there's a different movement and think, do I want to be part of that movement?
Yes.
You know, and that's all that we can do,
I agree.
in my
with you.
opinion.
Yes.
Doesn't mean I'm right.
We're just shooting shit. If you're writing down, put the pen down, and
you're
nothing.
stressing me out, thinking billions of people have got help now. So
I know. I mean, deep inside, I realize that I just want a better future for my kids, and every parent want a better future for my kids. We had different schooling systems, and we're still sitting here,
Yeah.
and we're kind of all right.
Exactly.
I mean, depends who you ask.
yeah. Exactly.
So at the end of the day, it's all about the person and how if you really want to escape, you escape. And even in the best schools, my kids go to the school that is completely alternative education. They shouldn't have any structure, still have structure, and still get indoctrinated in a few things. Maybe that's unavoidable. Maybe that's as humans. We're talking to a guy who's a Mormon, and he was saying, well, as humans, we kind of seek indoctrination.
Yeah.
We like to have those easy paths. We're always
Tell me
looking for
what to do. Yeah.
something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even entrepreneurs, we're still looking for mentors.
Yeah.
And those mentors have their own belief system that they put on us.
Yeah.
And then we start talking like them, believing their own thing.
Yeah.
And
It comes back to one thing you were talking about before, which was the conversation you were having with your son about he received some information and then he believes that's a thing,
yes,
right? And your job was then to ask him more questions. And it's about that creative thinking, like sense making. Like, here is an opinion, here is another one. Or I now have two different sides of a story. What do I decide is the right one or not? And how
yes,
do I move forward in that way? So creative thought process is such a critical part for everybody, whether you're an adult or a student, to really kind of move forward and create your own opinion, right, of things,
yeah,
because we do seek our opinions. We do want to listen to people because it feels like it's the sticking plaster to the pain that we're feeling right now in terms of why do I feel this way and how do I
yeah,
move forward. So being able to think, that's why I talk about learn how to learn.
yes.
That's part of that process, right?
But it takes a lot of being vulnerable to say that I don't know much.
Yeah.
Like I used to think that I know everything enough to do whatever I want. It was a very egoistic way of thinking. And then I realized, talking to people who are way better than me, that I actually don't know anything at
Yeah.
all. But now my thing is like, oh, how does the table work? I ask questions and then I just probe. But I probe on the things that have nothing to do with anything at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I can just look at the camera and say, what are the best angles of camera? I can just research some weird stuff for hours and hours and hours. But I go deep in every topic. That's why I really like podcasting. So we can go really deep. And it seemed like there's no reason for that.
Yeah.
But there is reason for that, because you see patterns and you learn how to analyze information and you learn how to dissect. Because a lot of things also, the world we live in now, you can't trust information. Like you cannot just go and look for a video and trust that this video is true. You have to go to 20 different resources, analyze it, look at the science, and then make your own decision.
Yeah.
And it probably is still bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. But be able the learning to learn that that's a thing
Yes.
in the context of what you're trying to achieve is a massive like superpower skill.
But
right?
I think if I dissect to one thing, when you are uncertain how certain things work, all you do, you just ask ChatGPT. But don't ask it to write stuff for you. Just say, okay, how does this thing work? And then just ask more questions.
Yeah.
I think if people just do that, because it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's all about dopamine hit.
Yeah, dopamine's a thing, right? And it's only going to get worse. So, look, I think learning is being able to use technology as a tool, not a crutch,
Yes.
right? And knowing that what it's actually there for. And it's always about so what am I going to do with this information now?
Yes.
What am I going to do? How am I going to move things forward for myself in my own learning or creating something?
I'm with you. Yeah, the problem with the kids are going to get this tool. Now you have to teach your kids how to use tools. Like you need to sit down and bring them all the awareness that this is a consequence. This is the way you should use ChatGPT. Because I'm sure there's so many kids, like they're watching YouTube now when they're eating, and they cannot eat without watching a fucking phone.
Yeah.
And then my kids need to watch their phone with them because we're just in the same
Yeah,
table
same
or whatever,
place.
which is terrible. It's going to be the same way where they're just going to give them phone and they will start to copy or start to ask questions, and the biased ChatGPT will start giving them some weird shit, and they don't know how to critically think, and it's going to indoctrinate them. Because the other thing is that all those AIs are learned on a biased data.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, be able to discern that as a kid, that's really difficult, right? So you need this kind of mentorship, kind of someone else there to learn from and ask other questions. To go, is this right? What this is telling me here is right. And a lot of people will just will not ask those questions, which is why, saying questions are the key to sort of unlocking so much of life. But I think using technology for kids, they're encouraged to do it in the current schooling system to such a degree.
Yes.
They call it ed tech now.
Oh, really?
Basically, it just means having a computer in the class, right? And then you have phones in the class as well, because some kids don't have a computer. And then
Oh
having a
wow.
phone in the class, it just becomes this huge distraction and all the rest of it. So you just need to take those out of the equation and
Yes.
not make them part of learning
Yes.
until it's relevant for to actually have that conversation, to actually use it in the way as a tool, not as a crutch and not as a learning mechanism.
Yes.
So what we do is basically project-based learning, and we decided to take a 8 to 10 week approach of a term, and they'll start a project at the start, and they'll complete and celebrate it at the end. And there's a pathway that we follow where they'll be using technology a little bit in there to upskill, to actually execute on an idea. But it's wrapped up in something that is creative,
Yeah.
and they can collaborate on.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that, and they kind of this pathway where they touch, let's say, geography, they touch maths, they touch English, they touch communication, they touch sociology. There's a pathway all the way there where they are using all these skills along the way, and then
Yes.
we deploy technology for skill ups
Yes.
in that AI based way to sort of increase mental maths ability,
This is cool.
and language, and then they have to present their ideas at the end. Alongside that, so there's two projects. Alongside that, those are normally themed. So that one, the term they're just doing at the moment is production.
Yeah.
Which is at the end, all the productions they'll do. We're going to a cinema in Ubud, literally rolling out the red carpet, and all their productions will be on the big screen.
That is amazing.
And so there'll be a big party at the end. A big piece of it is being able to start a project and to be able to complete it by celebrating it at the end, and then knowing that that's
Beautiful.
over at the end. But alongside that is what we call their personal exploration project, which is whatever the hell they want.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So we ask them 4 questions at start. What do you want to get better at? What are you curious about? And
Yeah.
what problem do you want to solve?
I should do that with my son. He's 6 for
And it just opens up this
Yeah.
door, right? Because
Yeah.
kids never get asked those questions.
Yes.
So it's amazing, like what these kids do.
Wow.
And there's another study that I saw that came out that like 61% of Gen Zs
Yes.
think that the arts is the most important part of their school.
The what?
The arts. So
The art,
the arts,
okay.
the creative arts,
Oh,
music,
well, that's cool.
anything that's kind of artistic in its viewpoint, right? That's what they want to do.
This
And
is cool.
And that's borne out in the same way, in what we see with the kids and their personal exploration projects. It's about 60-70%. They do artistic things. But then you can bring in mentors, like we've got some music production mentors that are
Yes.
helping them build songs using the technology as a tool, not a crutch.
Yes.
We've got other ones that wanted to do food, so they were doing like learn how to make Japanese food, so like high-end sushi,
Yeah,
ramen.
yeah.
So we brought one of our food mentors in. They brought the sushi chef from Sanur to here to
Yeah.
spend one-to-one time with this kid,
Yeah.
like on his project, right?
That's amazing.
So you bring in this kind of that one-to-one
Yes.
like focus for all these kids, and it's hard work, but the results are pretty amazing, right?
Wow.
And we wrap that up in this project-based mentality,
Yes.
because life is a series of projects now. There's no linear career arc where you're
Yes.
going to stay in along. You're going to feel like I'm moving from one project to the next, right?
Yeah, it's so fast now.
So why don't we help kids in train in that mindset, which
I
creates
love
that resilience from a project-based learning standpoint.
Yeah, because the world changed so much. Before you had one career, now there's no way. Like you change now with AI. It's so fast. You can literally we have like new project every few months now. You just
Yeah.
execute it, see how it works. It didn't work, let's go.
Exactly.
And it's fine. It's like I don't know if it's fine or not. I guess if somebody wants to have amazing big wealth, sometimes you need to give it a time and focus. But I think it's fine switching projects. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and it's one thing we wanted to do was make sure that there was that like clear kind of objectives at the start,
Yes.
where they knew. It's kind of like leveling them up as well. So because if they can choose their own project,
Yes.
some kids gonna like shoot for the moon
Yeah.
and realize because we give them a budget, so we give them a budget to execute their project, right?
Yeah.
They have to manage their own budget, their own costs, their own. Oh shit! If I do this, I'm going to overspend, so they have to pull it back down.
Yeah.
And you have some kid that totally lowballs it because they're feeling a certain way, and you have to help them through the process of.
Yeah.
You can probably do more with this, right? You could probably think about this in a much more like positive way in terms of the thing you're going to produce. But that's like amazing, because that's like what we're talking about with adults right now. It's like they don't go through that process of ideation into collaboration, into communicating their idea, into presenting it, right?
Yes.
Because we just shrink away from it. We're not taught it. It's
Yes.
scary.
Yeah.
I wish I'd learned those skills as a kid, because I only learned them a few years ago and able to stand up in front of people.
Yeah.
My life would have been massively different
Same.
if I could
Yes.
say, hey, I've been curious about this thing, I've gone and created this, and I've created this amount of value, and now I'm communicating it to you.
I had
Imagine how different it would be, right?
I had a course in school, university. It was called presentation skills.
Tell me.
So you go for a project, you research, and then you have to present in front of the class.
Yeah.
So you research about some cars. I like cars. Then you stand in front of the class, and the teacher is shaming you for like an hour.
Really?
So literally, you're like, the whole thing is that you don't know how to present, so you learn how to present. And she stays there, and she's like, "This information is bullshit.
Yeah.
You're lying. You're lying." I'm like, "Lady, I'm learning how to present.
Yeah.
You're ruining my future."
Kids will surprise. You will never fail to surprise in their capability. If you harness that curiosity,
Yeah.
suddenly they become passionate about the thing they're doing. It's how much easier is it to talk about something when you're passionate about it, because you know
100%.
about it, right?
Yeah.
And if you've learnt about it in a different way, if you create that environment where they're supported,
Yeah.
to know that that's the thing that they're being supported on,
Yeah.
they go, great. And then they're happy to talk about it.
100%.
Everyone's scared to death about like standing up in front of people, right?
Yeah.
But it becomes immeasurably easier when you're passionate about what you've done. I'm
My
proud of it.
My 6-year-old is really into knitting because I was knitting in school. So he's like, he runs to school just to do knitting.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't need anything else. No playing with kids. I just do knitting. And then he was like, I want to come to a podcast because he checked out the studio. And I'm like, what are you going to talk about? He's like, knitting. We're just going to sit down and talk about knitting.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, let's talk about
Deep dive, man.
Yeah.
Deep diving on those subjects is something I think is like massively undervalued right now, because everything's like so immediate.
Yeah.
If you watch a kid now use Spotify, you're lucky if they've listened to like 1 minute of the song before they go on to the next one. Like this accessibility to everything that you can consume is like is detrimental to all of us,
100%.
right? Because you
Same
never
here. Same with adults.
because you never get chance to really go into. And the example I use my son. So he's just done a music production. That's his project, right?
Okay.
So we got some musicians, quite famous musicians, to come and sit with him and show him how they built tracks electronically and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But when I'm talking to him, I used to be DJ and used to buy vinyl, right? And have to carry vinyl around with me everywhere. But some of the records, they fold out, right? And they're this beautiful, like inlay. And you even as a kid, I tell him this, and he's like, "Oh man, it sounds so good." I'd have to save up my money, week in, week out, my pocket money that I'd have to earn. I'd go down to the store, I'd select the record that I want. I knew what I wanted. I'd bring it home,
Yes.
and I'd get it, and I'd put it on the record player or the other cassette or whatever, and I'd sit there and open and read everything on the inlay.
Yes.
And then I would turn it over, and I'd flip the thing over, and then you read all that, and it's like it opens up so many doors because the artist may be talking about who their influences are. So you're like, I'm going to go and find out about that band now or that musician, right? Or they're talking about other influences. And so it just becomes this widened experience. We don't get any of that anymore.
No.
We don't ever get to deep dive in subjects, or unless you go down like a YouTube rabbit hole, right?
Yeah.
And they've still got
or
value.
ChatGPT rabbit hole. Yeah.
I mean, my son, like he learns so much. We've got Alan Watts here behind him. And
Shout
I
out to Alan Watts.
shout out to Alan Watts. And my son's basically cut up one of his speeches basically and turned it into a music track, because we were talking about philosophy, we were talking about where all these ideas come from, and I introduced him to Alan Watts as his idea, and now he's like, all he cares about is Alan Watts.
Amazing.
Right? So they do have value, right? And the best way to absorb that sometimes is through is going having that deep dive and that passion.
But we do the same thing, man. I used to watch movies, full movies, and now I just fast forward movies.
Yeah, given choice, right? Choice is difficult.
And I never knew I could do that.
Yeah.
I went to, like, let's say hotel, and there was Netflix. I don't have Netflix at home, and I wanted to watch Squid Games. I'm like, nice, I'm going to watch Squid Games. Like, it's 6 episodes. And I just fast forwarded the whole Squid Games like 2 hours.
Put on like 2x speed,
Yeah. Like, this is so wrong.
Yeah.
People
That attention deficit, we've all got some level of it, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, okay, so the last question I have. How what do you need? How can people support you? So people are listening, people are watching. What is the need for your school to prosper, for your project to prosper? How can we help? I can help, or they can help.
How can I help it prosper? I think I'm encouraging people to really think about what they want their kids to do from 11 plus in terms of being in a school, and really think about some of the things we've talked about
Okay.
here today, and understanding what future their kids are walking into, what we're all walking
Yes.
into, right? And being having that investment in their kids' future as that generation that is going to be able to really change things.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do at Future Human School. If people want to come and have a look around,
Yeah.
they can come and look at the school. They can ask us all these different kind of questions. They can come along to any of our open days and presentations and go on the website and sign up for that.
Awesome.
But that's the ultimate thing, I think. If we want to fix the problems in the world, it's arming the next generation with as many tools and as many learnings that we've got from all the mistakes that we've made and
Yeah.
created this whole mess, so that they don't have to make the same mistakes and can
Beautiful.
live in this more prosperous and nice world.
Amazing, man. Thank you for coming. Your first podcast. I'm very, very excited. Really, really, really nice talking to you.
You too, man. Thank you.
Thank you for watching, and please go to good schools and don't get indoctrinated. Bye bye.